Welcome to another live broadcast that we'll do about the elements. This is a show that I've done before, but I'm going to try to switch it up in a little different direction so you can understand a little more about the elements, what they are. And most people go, oh, they must be air, fire, earth, and water. But it goes a little deeper than that. I've been watching this show called The Originals. It's a show about magic and werewolves and vampires and humans. Thought it was interesting. There's 4 there. And there's what you'd call air, fire, earth, and water. However, there's an interesting thing about, as the title of the show would suggest, about smoking and drinking and eating. Well, the first one, smoking, has to do with oxygen or air or ether. It's how you breathe. You can call it the breath of things. That'd be smoke. Then you'd have earth or eating, because what do you do with food? You eat it. It's earth. It comes from the earth. It's a physical object. And you have water, which would be drinking. So there's your smoking and drinking and eating. And that's what we do. That's how we ingest things. However, no one is ingesting fire because it's not an element. Element means El means God, ment means mind. Well, I'm not going to say no one ingests fire. It's about people's understanding what fire is. If you're not familiar, you can have what's called a cool or a cold flame, which burns at about 72 to 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Oddly enough, that wouldn't really burn the body. It wouldn't burn the skin. And you can also get temperatures beneath that and well above that. You can get a flame up in the, 4,300 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's about. I mean, there's a if you think the sun is a hydrogen and oxygen ball of gas, there's something different there. But let me go to the 3 elements and the 4th thing, which is fire, which is a transmutative power or force. You can use either word you like there. We're not going to get into the book called Power versus Force, but we'll just say that it transmutes things. It's not an object, or it's not an element in the same way that air would be, or earth would be, or water would be. But here's what you can notice. And dimension extensions, I'll get into the reason for the different colors at the different times of day. It has to do with different gases and where the sun is in the sky in relation to the eyeball. We'll do that a little later. But what I want to focus on here for people is there's no food. We'll start with the food. We'll start with the earth. There's no earth that you're eating that hasn't been heated up, that hasn't used fire. Now, you can use the stove to do it. Most people are like, well, no, I just eat fruit. Well, when the fruit was growing on that tree, the sun was causing a reaction. Also, in the earth, for that plant life to grow, there had to be a bunch of bacteria reactions going on, as well as the acidic environment of the soil. And acid is akin to heat. Alkaline is akin to cool. So no matter what you're eating, especially if you're eating a living food, such as a sauerkraut or a living beer, or even what you'd call fire water, if you're drinking those things, if you're taking that liquid in, it's all been heated up. Even most people, when they're drinking juice, I don't know how you make that juice, but if you're not using a slow masticating Yeah, spell the word for me. It's like one of those. You have like four different types of ways to make fruit juice, but you're heating it. You're heating something up, and if you're getting it from the store, you're probably getting it pasteurized. And pasteurized means to heat something up, and you're making a basically um, a stew out of it, or it's a soup. It no longer is what it was originally, even though the fruit to begin with was already. It's gone through a process of heating up by using fire to transmute it. So no one's eating the fire yet. The fire is within the food. Now, if you go take some earth element and you light it on fire and you smoke it, or you can go smoke your beef jerky or whatever you're eating, your vegetables, put them on put them over the open fire. You're heating these things up. So you're using the fourth thing, which has nothing to do with the three elements. The fourth element isn't an element, and this bears repeating a number of times. So we have what you call the earth, like the food that you'd heat up. Then you'd have the air, which is in the smoke from like um, smoke a cigar, smoke a whatever it is. The air that you breathe, even when you're breathing in air. Let's start at a more simple process. When you breathe in you can try this out for yourself. If you open your mouth up really big and breathe out, versus if you purse your lips together and breathe out, you're going to get two different temperatures. You're going to be able to feel it on the back of your hand, on your wrist or whatever. So whenever you breathe air in, you could be in a very cold climate, and when you breathe it in through the nostrils, you're heating the air up so that it's capable of going into the body. So there's a process that your body is already doing of heating things up because you're made of fire. You already are the fire element. And many people would know that on other realms, your body is basically made of a different color flames. And those flames are connected to the, as Dimension Extensions was talking about the sun earlier. The sun is blue at noon and pink around 3 to 4. I've never seen a blue sun at noon. That's maybe something that maybe where you are, the way your eyes are adjusting. But there's, depending on where you are on the earth and the types of gases in the air and types of elements that planes have been putting into the sky, and whatever gases are coming out of the tailpipe, all of those things are adjusting the color of the sunlight. So those are that's a little different, because the sun is causing heat to a degree. So it's connected to alkaline, or excuse me, the sun is connected to acid, which is connected to electricity, and the moon is connected to alkaline and to magnetics. I mean, more so the earth is connected to magnetics, but using the two things that we'd see in the sky, because most people forget about the earth because they don't ground themselves out and take their shoes off. They're not going to they're not going to be able to really capture what we're trying to explain here. So the original elements are three things, and the fire was Prometheus. It was like why the gods gave things. When you say the gods, small g's, because there's one big. It's the O. This is why they call it an OG, the original god, the original gang star. The original Gangara. So these three elements, if you go to somewhere that's very cold, if you go to a very cold climate, the earth, people can exist there because there's fire already in them. The longer you've lived in a cold climate, the higher the temperature in your body will be. Your blood will be different, and the acid alkaline will be different in your body. If you're in a warmer climate, these things will change, and the fruit on the tree will already be heated up. So, as a reminder for people, fire is something that you already you already hold. You're the fire keeper. There's a reason you have opposable thumbs. There's a reason why these animals out here don't carry fire. They don't carry the flame. They don't look at the sun and then produce a fire on the ground to cook their food and do all these things. But we're capable of doing that because we have opposable thumbs and we've learned how to make tools. And that tool is basically what the fire is. And it's why we can transmute things in ways that animals cannot. We can transmute things in our bodies differently, and we can also transmute things in front of our faces differently. You ever seen an animal with an alchemy lab? Have you ever seen an animal cooking food or starting a fire? These things don't happen because you're not from the animal kingdom. You're already made of the flame, the whole, like, you're made of the light. You're the light of the world. And where does light come from? I mean, daylight is different than sunlight, and that has to do with the gases in the atmosphere, and a little bit to do with radiation. But I think I've covered everything I wanted to here. If anybody's in the room that has some more questions on what I've just produced for you, I've done this video before in different ways, but this show really got me thinking about the different you know, the magicians and the vampires and what they're all working with. There's different types of energies in the werewolves, and there's always this blood, and there's fire in the blood, and what is the blood doing, and then you know, getting a little deeper into that. Why is water blue and fire red? You know, what's that about? What's water have to do with blueness? Well, not very much, really. Water has to do with clarity or clearness. Blue water is just blue water is basically because there's a bunch of other colors going on. There's things in the water. Water is clear. So in its perfect form, water is clear. Earth is probably brown, like a dark brown, probably. I can't answer that for sure. It depends on where you go. And air, see, water and air are very clear. They're just different densities of the same thing. But fire has this. Fire can be so many different temperatures. The range at which fire can exist is it's gargantuan. It's there's this whole water can only exist in a very small frame. It's either going to be ice, which is no longer water. Now it's ice. It's a solid. And so from 0 degrees Celsius to 212 degrees, or excuse me, from 0 to 100 or 32 to 212. And if anybody's not familiar with what's 212 minus 32? That's 212 degrees Fahrenheit and 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the boiling temperature and the freezing temperature of water. You get 180. So 180 degrees, you get half of something. But fire exists, wow, you can get up into the thousands. Earth will melt eventually. And then you get into like, well, then we'd have to get into what you'd call the metallics or the meta-els, right? The realms that why there's 5 elements in the Western, or excuse me, in the Eastern model. If you go to the Chinese people, they'll tell you there's 5 elements, and they'll use metal as one of the elements. So that becomes a little different. But you know, for the purpose of this video, it's to make things less complicated and not more complicated to get to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 elements. And well, actually, there's 63 elements. No, wait, there's 89 elements. Wait, we could make more. No, there's one thing, and then there's 3 elements, and then there's the transmuted force, which is the fire. So hopefully that makes sense for people. I'll wait around for 2 minutes, and if anybody has any questions on this, I'll try to answer those. And do I drink hard liquor after big meals? No, I would drink beer after a meal. Dimension extensions. I would drink a beer that's living because that'd help me digest it. Before a big meal, you drink a digestif, which is a bitter substance in high spirit, like 80 proof. Maybe not that high, but you it would be a bitter substance that helps get the, because it's gonna be very acid and very bitter, and it's gonna add to the fuel of the stomach to burn off whatever you're eating. So you drink the digestive, and then you drink the digestive. Excuse me. What does it after the meal? Why are they called airplanes if they run on jet fuel? Dimension extensions? Because I'm assuming they don't run on jet fuel, because if it's a jet, it's an airplane because it's running on air, dude. it's it's about as basic as you can put it. The amount of fuel that they tell you an airplane holds, the mathematics doesn't hold up. It doesn't work. There's no way that it's using that much fuel to make those engines work. Those jets, like a jet stream, those airplanes, the plane of air that they're using. Yeah, I don't. You do even the most basic of math on these things, and it just does not work out at all. How much fuel it says it uses. It's no way, and how fast it says it's going. I'm not going to get into all that here because I don't want to taint the instructions, taint the ideas of the elementals, but yeah, the amount of fuel they need to get the turbines going is very minimal. You gotta remember this one basic thing. If you think you know something today, the amount of technology the technology existed 30 years ago. And so whatever you think you know right now about how airplanes work, the technology is already probably using, you know, I don't know, anti-gravity. And when I say gravity, you know what I mean. I don't mean gravity in the way that most people believe in it, because I don't believe in gravity that way. But you'd say it's doing something with electromagnetism, and it's also using air power to a degree. But that's a little side note on that. So, and you have to remember, if it's 30 years, if we're 30 years behind in what the technology is, it's working on a J curve. It's not working in in a stair step mathematics, meaning if one year, next year is double the next year. Well, if you double one year, then you've got to double the next year, and then to get into a J curve. That's how far we are behind. And I don't say we like me and you. I just mean most people's belief, like understanding of how things work. Yeah, 4,000 planes leave a day. Yeah, which airport you live next to? I bet you, dude. I used to work at airports, man. Heathrow, even Atlanta doesn't even. Atlanta might, maybe, have. Let me think about this. So that one, two, three, four. Because you can only have. They only have how many coming out every. You can have a plane leave every 3 minutes, 20, and depending on if you got two, and you could get. Yeah, you could get into maybe 1,000, maybe if you've got enough runways, and they'd have to be, you can only go in a couple directions. So yeah, 4,000. You. What's the biggest airport? It's Heathrow, right? It's Heathrow, then Atlanta, then 4,000 planes leave a day, right? Then you'd have to do the math on that. How many people how many people get onto an airplane? How big are these airplanes? I mean, there's too many questions there. Hey, if you add an L to TSA, what do you get? The TSA is protecting the L of Tesla. But then again, Tesla. I don't think existed in the way. I think he was just a picture of some dude, and they're just using him as an image of old technology that was already given by, say, like an old empire or something that they were just trying to figure out. And maybe some dude named Nikola Tesla existed, maybe, and maybe he figured it out, or maybe he came from that empire. But I don't think that whole story holds up any weight. I think they just took some documents like, oh, we'll just call this Nikola Tesla. Nick. Okay, Nick. What's Saint Nick? Saint Nick Law. So the laws, the L's. Nicholas Tesla. I don't know. Just rearrange a few letters there. I can show you that. So I got like 5 more minutes, man. I'll flex with you Dimension for a little bit, and I'm gonna get back to watching this show here. Yeah, man. I mean, there's not really much that you're given as technology by the books, by the school systems, and that want you to really understand how the shit works. I mean, if you believe in medicine, like modern medicine, well, you've been very, obviously confused. And if you believe the school system's telling you the truth about everything, you're very confused. And if you think that technology, there's not like higher technology to things, you know. And TSA and the thing about TSA, it's not corrupt. They're just doing a job to, like, you know, it's like when you get on an airplane and they're like, hey, I think George Carlin did this bit. Like, they tell you to buckle your seatbelts and do all these things. It's not for your safety. It's just to see if you follow instructions. It's not. It's for a bigger purpose. Oh man, dimension extensions. Yeah, the other day I was sitting. Where was I? I was in New Orleans the other day, and I seen this airplane. It was a big jet. It was probably a 737. It was 737 for them. I don't know. But it was close enough because the airport's close enough to my place. And I was outside with somebody. I was like, dude, look at that plane, how slow it's going. And we both are just staring at it, going, that's basically hovering in the sky. We're like, we could have got on a bike and followed it down the street. Maybe not a bike, but you know what I mean. Like, we could have gotten a car and stayed at about 60 to 70 miles an hour. It was not moving fast at all. We're just like, it was obvious it was only going, 120 at best. And they'd be like, no, it's your angle, it's the way you did it. I'm like, no, that's no. I know how far distance is. I know what I'm looking at here. I know where that's above right now. That's only 4 miles away. Yeah, man. I mean, the slow and low stuff, I mean, they're supposed to be traveling. They tell you, well, I mean, what do they tell you? 33,000 feet going east and west, 32,000 feet going north and south. I mean, they do it at odds and evens, but eh, I don't think most of them are flying at that. I mean, it depends on where you live, though, you know? How close do you live to an airport? Because for them to get out of the sky to start their descent into the airport, it's a little different. So if you live kind of in the country, you'll still see them kind of low, man, and you'll be able to hear them, but the speed at which they say they're going is nowhere close. Not even in this. No. Okay, so you're 30 minutes, but okay. Well, that's pretty far. That's far enough where they shouldn't be that low. 30 minutes. Like, I mean, think about that. If you're traveling, if you're saying 30 minutes by expressway on a car, I mean, that's a what, 20-mile drive. They're gonna they probably start descent with about 25 miles to go. So they've just started the descent, and that's maybe. That's maybe. But then you got to take into account, are they actually traveling at 450 to 500 miles an hour, which there's no way they are. Uh-uh. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you know the dude's channel, Enslaved by No Media, dude. He's done a lot of really cool work, but then some of his stuff is just out the box, crazy, believe in Jesus and blood, all this weird shit, and then he starts saying some things that are so confusing that I read the I'm listening to him like, dude, you're confusing people. Just get to the point. Like, do the math, show them how fast they're going, and then shut up about the Jesus shit, because you're really confusing people. I was like, you're not doing a good service to showing people how slow the planes are really going sometimes. But then again, I see on his like his channel is definitely shadow banned, like for certain. I mean, I've made comments and they don't show up, and I've seen like it say like 20 comments and like 10 up there, and I'm like, really? What happened to the rest of them? Yeah, unless he just deleted them because he was like, but he does leave a lot of comments up that are like critiquing his channel. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, what else besides the planes, man? So we covered a little bit of the air, fire, earth, and water, which was the main goal of this. And this is kind of bonus. This is bonus time. This is like an OT session. Anybody else in here? We got five other. We got. See, Dimension. You just in here. You're telling me six people in here, but apparently five people. If anybody else is commenting, I don't see your comments. And if you're in the background, hopefully you're enjoying the talk. Anything else? Or I'm gonna get back to watching vampires and magicians. I don't know if y'all seen the show Magicians. It's amazing. Watch that show. And I watched two other shows recently. I don't I'll bug out on TV like once in a while. I'll just sit down like for like a Saturday or Sunday and really just dig into a show. But other than that, like TV is usually not your friend unless you know what you're looking at, and you can kind of read into the deeper storyline. And then movies and things become a lot more interesting to watch. Yeah, you can always get a little fun about my man. He out there, how much editing they have to do and how many times they must have hilarious outtakes because there's no way these people are taking the kind of abuse for free. They're definitely like there's no way. Gordon Ramsay, Ramsay really sounds like he's from Egypt, huh? Yeah, that's entertaining sometimes. Yeah, if they yeah Dimension if they really are on the show like unaware that it's Gordon fucking Ramsay and unaware that he's gonna fucking shit all over their food and just tell them they're stupid assholes, like then yeah they're definitely PTSD'd out. But most of them gotta know, like you're getting like you gotta know. Like he's gonna fix your restaurant, but then he goes back to the restaurant and they change the menu back and they fucking didn't take any of his advice and their restaurant's shitty again. Yeah, you can't just none of those actually work. What is it like 10% of the I mean, I don't this is what I've heard. I never read anything on it. Somebody told me like only 10 to 15% of the restaurants that he goes into are actually in business afterwards because they don't actually continue to follow the methods of a master chef. What's up, Stan? David Copperfield. Hey, maybe you did. I don't know. Magicians are real, man. Magic is real, dude. I don't. I can't say for things that are on TV like that. I think most of that is just camera tricks and mirrors and all this. But oh, there's no doubt magic is real. Like you can do card tricks because you got sleight of hand, or you can do card tricks because well you can manipulate matter in ways that other people cannot. You could probably walk through, but you wouldn't show that. Like if you really were doing that, you wouldn't show that on TV. No way. You could never show anyone that. Yeah, David Copperfield. I used to watch him a lot when I was growing up. And magic is real, dude. I mean, the thing about magic being real is like how quickly can people manipulate or change matter. Um, there's a thing about here's what you deal with when dealing with magic, like real magic. You're doing one of two things. You're adjusting time and space, or you're adjusting matter. I'm gonna go pour myself one more beverage, and I'll give you the rest of this conversation. Here, I'll even take you with me. Might as well. What I gotta do. So, whenever I explain it to people, if you're dealing with mind magic and mentalism and space and time, that's when it's not very noticeable to people. I mean, it is. They'll see it, but they'll just be like, they could always just go, no, that's for a different reason. No, that just so happened. Like if you can adjust the weather, like manipulate the weather, which is possible, right? These things, but they take a little while. They take a little. This is magic in this realm. Gives you the possibility of going, oh, I don't know if I want that, and you can kind of cancel the spell, cancel the thing that you want because you're playing with space and time. Where there's some people that adjust matter, but people that play with matter, you don't do that publicly because that's like, people that can do. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen people that are really good at it on YouTube. They can like move objects. They can put something underneath a bowl and push, something around inside it. I've seen people do this in person, and obviously, if you can work with a candle, you can work with things. Like I could do these things, but I'm not going to show anybody that. Like, and to do it to any high level, like you don't want to be just pushing matter around. You see, you'd rather work with space and time. That way, it gives you a buffer to always go, well, is that exactly what you want? That's what this universe does. That's what this realm offers. It offers a little bit of a buffer of time and space to always go, okay, are you sure that's what you want? It's why the law of attraction doesn't work for anyone. Those kind of things. The law of attraction and the keys to the whatever books, Jack, whatever his name is, and they're writing the same thing. It's the same book been written 1,000 times. They're talking about a level of mentalism which works, but because people function in a realm where they want things right now, and if they don't get them right now, they're not going to believe that it could occur, and so then they don't get what they want. They cancel out their own energies, which is a benefit in some ways, but also a negative in other ways. And so then they go, oh, magic isn't real, these things don't work. Well, then no, magic doesn't work for you, even though it is working in every sense, in every moment it works. The mentalism and the magic and adjustment of space and time is always happening. People want to adjust matter immediately, but until you can control space a little bit and time a little bit, you don't get to adjust matter. You can't just be molding objects out of your hands. That's what the shamans did to create this realm a long time ago. They spoke words into a shape and then used, real high levels of acoustics. The people that are really adjusting things there's a lot of musicians think of it this way. If you ever see somebody break a glass by using their voice, that's adjusting matter. Now think of it if you didn't use your voice and if you just used your mind, because your mind is putting out an electrical field. And if you used your heart and your mind, you'd be putting out an electrical field, an electromagnetic field that is really more powerful than your voice. But yet, the voice can adjust matter. So if the voice can adjust matter and it can adjust space and time, you could ask someone to go get you something and they'll go get it, or you could that's one adjustment of space and time. But you could also just create it right in front of you. But that takes a lot of amperage in your system. It takes a lot of energy. And like how hard are you willing to work to like produce yourself how much energy do you have fluxing through your body to create something? A fire in the palm of your hand? It would take a little bit. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, it's a Moldavite. Moldavite's a strong, strong energy, man. Anytime I'm near Moldavite, it always does something really strange to my head and my stomach. Yeah. Tricks. Yeah, tricks. They try and it's like you go find a prostitute, they're called tricks for a reason. It's a trick of the mind, it's just tricking you. But real magic is something completely different. Mm. All right, guys. As I said, I always do this. I always go overboard on how long I'm going to talk. I was going to give this 20 minutes, and now here we are, 36 minutes in. If there's any I'll give you the 40 minutes if there's any last queries into the magical realms, or it there's so much I could talk about here, but it's like, man, I've covered these things so many times about why magic is done usually in the evening, what the connection to the earth, the connection to the eve, the connection of black magic or the darkness, and the energy of the moon and the sun. That I've covered so many times. I don't really want to get into that again. See what kind of new things we can come up with. If anybody has any questions here. But hey, thanks for everybody for coming in, and the 2 thumbs up for the 40 minutes I did, and the 6 people that are in here that left. Appreciate that, even though they're not here now. I'll still be funny about it. Call us in. We'll call this an evening. Okay, I'll give you guys a few more seconds to type in anything if you had. Oh, Stan, it's new to you, man. Oh, dude, look into all of my really early work, 2 years ago. You're not. I guess you're not that from. I think I've seen you. I think I've seen you enough where I just assumed you were just kind of in the background, not asking things. But on my other channel, Stan, I don't know if do you know this, or are you that new? You know my other channel, right? This channel is just for doing live videos because I got a copyright strike on my other one. So I guess that means you don't, or you do. Either way, my other channel is Zen ATMAN, the Atman, and there's about 1,000 videos on there. I don't know how many of them I put on lock just for safekeeping, for people that really want to get into deeper shit, or to listen to me fucking ramble on about nonsense for hours. But those ones, look into my earlier work. I have so many that I did on magic, maybe like 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. magic and sigils and the different energies. Cool, man. I'm glad you're enjoying, dude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So start with the early stuff where you don't see my face, or you don't, or you see like some pictures. Those ones, those go a little deeper into the magical realms and how the magic works and how all that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, this for me now is just for doing live shows. I think I'm gonna save that as kind of a, you know, a library of my old work. I'll probably start another channel up and do something different on there. That way y'all can find me in a few different energies and lights. although although I always keep it mixed up a little bit because I don't like to divide things up too much. Yeah, man. Enjoy the early work, man. I'm gonna get off of here. But like I said, man, go to don't start at the beginning. Go to December. Go to 2.5 years. What month are we? June? Yeah, like 2.5 years ago. So going to like December, January, February of 16, 17 or whatever. Yeah. What are you in 2019? Whatever time we're in, I don't know, man. And go check out those things. You'll enjoy that stuff. And it's a lot more um, visually stunning, and it'll make a lot more sense when you get into especially the magic stuff and how the magicians work and the realms of psychology and philosophy and rune and servitors, egregors, and sigils and god forms, and there's lots of good stuff out there. So everybody, you all have a beautiful evening. If I uh, continue to stay up, I might get back on here a little later because, as always, I don't know what time it is for all of you, but it is a little late for me. And you all have a beautiful day or evening, and maybe we'll talk soon. Stay cool, be weird, find magic in your life. And if you can't be weird and you can't find magic, at least entertain yourself, you know? I don't know. And if you can't do that, entertain other people. If you can't do that, well, I don't know. Fucking figure it out, man. I don't know. I'm not sure. Have fun. Do that. Yes, man. I mean, it's all over the place, man. Like I told people this. I'll give you this last thing. My early work was all about one directional teaching for people. It was a very much how can I dialogue all the shit that I know, and then it got to a very like halfway, I don't know, maybe like a year in, then you'll see my videos change over to where I'm walking around or I'm outside it's more philosophical, and the discourse is really in a general I don't know, psychological, philosophical kind of area where I'm outside a lot, sitting underneath trees and just talking about random things. And then I get into fasting and the more magical arts. And then I started putting my face on camera and talking slightly different. And then I go through this little part where I'm doing videos with my face on camera. And then I realized I could do live videos, and then I started discoursing with people, and then those shows become wildly different. Then you get to see a little different part of my personality, which is, well, it's all this stuff. So again, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, actually, and I'll make another video for you, man, and for everybody else. Did I have a video that is about my entire page, and I scroll through my entire selection of videos? This is when I probably had like 400 or 500, and I went through and I explained kind of a little bit about every video. But now I can redo that, and you can check that out. All right, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. Sleep well, do weird shit, and bong bong bong. Stay cool.